Hello and welcome to Live with the Pricing Lady, the podcast. I'm Janine, your hostess. This show is all about helping you build a more sustainably profitable business by understanding the tactics and strategies of pricing and how to use them most effectively as you build and grow your business. Today, I'd like to welcome our very special guest, Aya Ghosh. Hi, Aya.
Hi, Janine.
I'm so excited to have you here with me today and to dig into this conversation. Why don't we start with where are you joining us from today?
I'm joining you from Switzerland, Zurich.
From Zurich, Switzerland.
hmm
Excellent. And what would you call your superpower?
My superpower is to ask gorgeous questions.
Ah, oh, so actually, you need to be in the driver's seat on this one.
Once in a
Ask
while, it's nice
gorgeous
to be
questions.
asked. I love that too.
Super. That is a wonderful superpower because questions, well asked questions can be such a door opener for
It is.
people. Yeah. What's one interesting thing you'd like to share with us that most people don't know about you?
I wanted to be a film director when I was 20.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
And what was it that interests you about that?
I just love the creative power and how what you can give to the audience when you combine sound, scenario, pictures.
Okay. Interesting. So you have a creative side then as well.
Yes.
Super. Okay. Why don't we start at the beginning? And well, actually, first, why don't you tell us a bit about what you do in your business?
Of course, I work as a consciousness coach and I help people move on from the experiences that they're stuck with or to find the purposes that they want to find in their
Mhm.
life. And this is, I think, something that keeps expanding.
Yes. I think if there's one thing I've learned over the years is that you're never done.
Yeah,
It's just constantly growing and evolving and shifting and yeah.
so
So
true.
yeah, and the universe has ways of, throwing things your way that take you outside that
Yes.
comfort zone and challenge you. So, it's important to get that help and support along the way. Excellent.
Well said.
Yeah. So, what was it like that first time that you sat down and you had to actually set a price for something in your business?
Wow, the first time was very, very like exciting and anxious at the same time. So when I started my own business, I was still in my coaching school. And as I was finishing up my coaching school, I simultaneously started my own business. I was like, ooh, like I'm still a student, but I want to start this. And it was the first experience of setting my own price.
Mhm.
So that was, yeah, quite memorable.
Yeah. And how did you go about doing that?
Doing that, I kind of like checked other people's rate, like who are
Mhm.
already in the market, and I decided for something a little bit lower than that, including the fact that I'm still in the
Mhm.
school.
Mhm, mhm. And if I may ask, so the reason for pricing a little bit lower was because you were still training?
Yes, that's what I had thought when I set that price.
Mhm.
But then there came a point when I actually finished the like schooling and I wanted to raise my price. And I had stuck experience in that. And I realized that I've had so many accomplishments in my life, but I don't have great self-worth, or I at least didn't have great self-worth.
Mhm.
And that was sort of like not helping me with the experience of the pricing. So I had to
Mhm.
work on that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you say you felt like your self-worth wasn't there, how would you describe what that felt like?
Like it's what's so interesting is like you don't see it yourself. All I had was this stuck experience with like why is this so difficult for me emotionally to change the pricing?
Mhm.
And as being a coach, I think you need to walk the talk. So I had a coaching session with my peers,
Mhm.
and it turned out like, wow, I don't feel like I'm good enough. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, well, I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yes.
Um, Not just in pricing, but in many aspects of life, and I guess
Yes.
that's something that you come up with or that comes up a lot with the people that you work with as well. Is that
Yes.
that fair?
And I think also having your own business magnifies your personal belief, both positive beliefs and limiting beliefs, as well as your own energy. So it's a
Mhm.
really good way to learn about yourself as well.
Yes, yes. I always share with people that, I thought that starting your own business was this like career journey. And it is more than anything a self-development journey.
Yes.
Absolutely 100% a self-development journey. Yeah.
Fully agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So what beliefs did you discover? So aside from maybe the self-worth, or maybe in the context of the self-worth even, what beliefs did you carry with you that really didn't help you in your business?
There were many and they were kind of tied with each other, but some of
Mhm,
them are, as we discussed, not being good enough. There was also something about externally referencing. So it's easy to
mhm,
like reference the external market, but there are range there and it could be really anything. And at the end of the day, you need to do your research
yes.
and internally reference and find out what's right for you. And I was not too strong with the internal referencing. So that was
Mm,
something that I was also working on. And
mhm,
then there was also this like a belief about like wanting to help as many people as possible.
mhm.
And if you accomplish that mission, right? Like
Right.
the cheaper the better, but that's not going to be sustainable.
Mhm, mhm. Did you also have then beliefs that you felt actually were helping you as well?
I did. I really had the conviction that this is what I meant to be doing. And like,
Mhm.
even though it had not yet been working at that point, that I'm living my purpose. So that really, really helped me go through this self introspection process and setting the
Right.
price and everything else.
Okay. I think it's interesting because I think, um, people assume that if they know how to do something, that they won't have any problems doing it, right? So if they
Yes.
logically know the steps, and it sounds like, you had a plan with some steps to take on how to find the right prices. Logically knowing them is one thing, but then the emotional connection to it is something else. Would you agree with that?
Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like even if you have the optimal or strategically right price, unless you have an emotional connection to that, it's not gonna work on an energetic level. Like people know that when you
Mhm.
speak to people.
Mhm. So how do you build that energetic connection to your pricing or
Ah,
to your
that's a
worth? I don't
gorgeous
know whether you're
question.
saying it in the context of your worth of the I always hesitate to say your own worth, but the worth or value of what you offer, or in what context do you mean that?
Well, that's a really good point because like our worth is like infinite, right? Each one of us has infinite of value. So it's not necessarily true to say that this pricing reflects who I am or my value as an individual because it's always going to be much more. It's definitely more than 10 million or whatever you can number.
Mhm.
But your sense of like worth in terms of providing as a service provider, I think there is some kind of connection. And I
Yeah.
think the easiest way to catch yourself is like to like observe the reality. Is it actually working while you're doing in the work or not? That's a very easy way to tell.
Mhm.
Another thing I really recommend people is to calibrate yourself when you're like offering your product. So like, okay, let's say you have like a cup of coffee that you want to sell for 5 francs. And let's say like I say, Janine, like this is a coffee you can have for 5 francs. What does it feel like to say that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's very important, being able to speak the number out loud and to be able to say it in a confident way.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sure I've mentioned this on an episode before, but quite often, when I meet people and we have conversations about pricing, eventually I'll ask them, "Oh, well, what do you charge for for your offer, for your product?" And their response is, 500 francs, but they say it like a
Mm,
question.
yes. I was that, so I know exactly what you mean.
And to me, that's a dead giveaway. Yeah.
Yes.
Now they may be doing it just because they know who I am and what I'm doing, and so they're sort of asking for my approval. But I would guess some of them also do that with their clients as well, or with their
Mhm.
customers, if they're having those conversations. And yeah, that's a dead giveaway.
Yeah, but I think like, even if it's with you, I think the stance is different when you say like, well, this is 500 francs. what do
Mhm.
you think about it, right? Like that's not a
Mhm.
question. So, and at
Right.
the end of the day, you need to take an ownership.
Yes, yes, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. So one of the things you mentioned when we first spoke
Hmm.
was that you found that there were challenges when it comes to pricing services specifically. Can you tell us a
Yes.
little bit more about that?
Well, it's like for one thing, it's very, very sometimes difficult to explain what you do because if I have a car, I can show you like here's this beautiful car, this is what it does. But like
Hmm.
with the service industry, I think like what people get really like depends on like how much people are reaching for change in terms of my own profession. And there
Hmm.
is like no shape, no specific shape that I can like share with people. So you know, it's like from the brain configuration perspective, it's actually very difficult to decide when you don't have a picture that goes with it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So I think it's if I would paraphrase that, I would say it's a little less tangible, like it feels,
definitely, yeah.
or people. Now, do you think that you as the business owner, the person offering the service, that you feel it's less tangible? Or is it that you think other people, like your customers, think it's less tangible? Or both?
That's a gorgeous question, and you might be onto my beliefs, but I think other people think it's less tangible.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But
And
yeah.
how have you dealt with that when it came then to pricing and having those conversations with your clients?
What I love doing is to actually like share my own experience and what I got through the
Mhm.
coaching services because now I'm also on the client side and what what I got from it is just one demonstration example what it can do for other
Mhm.
people. And I
Mhm.
also just really enjoying working with people. So sometimes I do offer like free sessions or
Mhm.
depending on where people are at.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay. Excellent.
And I think it's, what's at the core is actually like the commitment to uncertainty. It's very difficult for any one of us to commit to what is uncertain,
Mhm.
and it's less certain than committing to a cup of coffee or,
Yeah, yeah, that's
yeah.
true. That's true. And I mean, we know most of us know if we're okay, if we're hiring a plumber, we don't really have to invest our own time and money or effort into
Yes,
getting results. The plumber comes in, they do their job and it's done. But when it comes to, consulting or coaching, there's usually some aspect of the client where they actually have to
yes,
do the work, right?
yes,
And I think as a client, when you're in the position of being the one making the purchase, on some level you may not admit it, but on some level you know that you're going to have to do some work right along the way.
yes, truly agree.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a different experience in the service spectrum for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. um so I'm looking at my notes here. How, in your experience, do you think people can allow pricing to be easier for them?
Wow, thank you so much for your question.
Mhm,
I think one of the attitudes that really helps me is like you don't have to be a perfectionist. You don't have to get the pricing right in the first trial. It's just
mhm,
like a feedback system. So you try something, if it doesn't work, you just adjust it. So it's like see
right,
it as a learning process, other than
mhm,
like, oh, I got it, like blah blah blah.
mhm, mhm,
Another thing is like to have really good friends that you can speak with who
mhm,
understands what you do and the value, but who also kind of have like a common sense perspective of the world or the
mhm.
market outside and just ask them what they think.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
always a good reference point.
yeah. Well, those are great, great tips. Thank you for sharing those. Um, something else that you spoke about that I found really interesting was you talked about having a needy energy at some point in time,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And how that impacted what
That,
you did or didn't do or how you did it. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
of course. And that needy energy so did not work. So in the first 2 years of my business, I actually had a 100% full-time corporate job on the side. So
Mhm,
my livelihood, paying the rent and all of that did not depend on my personal business income. And after that, I took a decision to leave work. And I was like, now I really need to be making money. So the pricing was still the same as before, but I was like super needy about having the money.
Right.
And like pretty much all of the sales conversation during that period did not work out.
Uh-huh.
And so I had more topics to work about myself.
So you think that you were giving off this energy and that was
hmm
influencing
hmm
um the people who were making decisions in a
I think
sense.
so.
Yeah.
I think I was like a dog who just did not stop barking and wants attention 24 hours a day.
Okay. And so how were you able to shift that?
Well, the first step of shifting that was like just like notice like, wow, something is not working.
Mhm.
And then I got really curious about that and I kind of introspected like what it is like that's different for me compared to before.
Mhm.
And I was just like really feeling needy about everything in life. Like I wanted to have everything all at once. I was not patient. And a friend pointed out to me, like, no, that's not going to work. Ah, yeah. So it's really nice to have good friends that tell you the truth.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Yes, it is. Super. So thank you for sharing that. I think right now what we're going to do is we're going to start wrapping this up. I've got a few more
hmm
questions for you. So what is one thing that you think or that you like people to remember from our conversation today?
Thank you for the question. I would really like people to think of pricing as something you can have fun with and learning with, and that you don't have to get it right in the first try.
Well, see, I love that answer. And I didn't tell her to say that. No, I mean, I think people think of it as this hard-nosed thing, but it can be very creative, and
Yeah.
that's what I hear from people a lot after they've experienced me. Is that it can be fun and it can be creative, and I think that that's a wonderful way to approach it as well, because then it doesn't feel so daunting and scary. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
What's one of the most amazing things you've overcome in your life? Can be business or personal, whatever you prefer to share.
Oh, it's really like understanding who I am
Mm,
and just feeling good about being myself and liking myself.
mm. That's super important. Yeah. We're all on that journey, aren't we?
Yeah.
Do you have a book or a tool that you'd like to share with the listeners today?
I am a bookworm and I have a book I would love to share,
Okay.
which is New Earth by Eckhart Tolle.
Yes. It is an excellent book. It's been a few years since I've read it, so maybe this is a reminder to pick it up again. Thank you for that. What is it that you find so interesting or so rich about that book?
It really, really changes your perspective and it really, really at least it allowed me to appreciate my everyday life. And it
Mhm,
really made me realize I don't have to go anywhere to change my experience.
mhm.
It's
Yeah,
all inside.
it's all inside. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Excellent. One last question. If people would like to find out more about what you do and how to work with you, where should they go?
Please visit my website, which is
Mhm.
ayatransformation.com.
Excellent. So we'll put the link to that and other links to Aya's social media in the show notes, also the book as well. So have a look there and reach out to Aya and at least say hello. All right, Aya, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show.
Oh, thank you, Janine. It was really fun.
You're very welcome. And to you, dear listener, thank you so much for being with us today. We do appreciate that you are here. Before you go, I want to remind you, if you're curious about what a fair price is, you can always head on over to have a look at Getting to a Fair Price, which is an on-demand web class. You'll find the link on my website under Learn, and we'll put it in the show notes as well. I wish you all the best. Have a great day. And as always, enjoy pricing, everyone.